All right. My brain is zenned out by now. I look kind of like I'm half asleep, probably. Let's go to the screen share. I'm looking for my punny one-liner sleigh, but at this point, it just feels sad and pathetic. Everything feels sad and pathetic. The neurological psychosis is like, back in the 1950s, we had a color spectrum of like 20 colors just for our television set. And then as we increase into the digital age, our neurological system goes, I need 5,000 pixels on my screen because I can see and hear everything, and I need surround sound because I'm super sensitive and I'm completely attuned to the new upgrades of vibration and intelligence. So when we have that, because we're like higher vibe people, we look at the things that we've done in life and we go, that was junk. That was not what I wanted to do. We look at things, so we created in big pixel format our reality, and then we did things like a mental body install, and then we upgraded. Let me say this again. We did things in basic formulas. Like maybe the first 5 years of our yoga practice didn't look so good. And then as we progress, we look more advanced, we feel more advanced, we understand what our postures are, and we understand the delicate nuances just between the postures and how each breath can actually reframe your entire genetic structure through your spinal system. Just because you had $10,000 to $20,000 of self-awareness practice. So in Ravenclaw, we do this thing. So this is for everybody, but definitely Ravenclaw, where we're doing our knitting. And as you do your knitting and you develop the higher levels of sensitivity, let me say this again. Let's make me look big. As we develop the higher levels of sensitivity and intellectual, like this looks like junk and this looks nice. But when I'm just doing my grids, this looks like junk. And then I'm going to have to figure out what to do with this. And I'm going to tell you what we're going to do with it. And you're going to go insane. Because it's the difference between a Gryffindor and a Ravenclaw. So first we're going to start off with the blueberry tree. So everybody in Ravenclaw is going to have a higher depth of intricate fine work. Let me say this again. They will have a deeper attunement and sensitivity to delicate nuances, vocal chord recognition, vocal layered chord recognition, color refinement. They will have a different spectrum in their brain that can see and perceive reality at super fine layers. So as I've done maybe 30 hours maximum of the Rapello Squibtum gridding, now my brain is ready for the actual sizes. Like this is the clown size. Let me see. Oh no. This was made off of 6mm ribbon. Let me say this again. This is the clown size for a Rapello Squibtum. This is made off of 10mm ribbon. Can you see the difference? So we have, so now the real size is 3mm ribbon or below. And we're gonna cover that. because when you're doing this and you're like it's not easy, but what happens is your brain attunes to higher frequencies and more delicate patterning, which is a requirement for Ravenclaw. So I bought a bunch of these bracelets because these bracelets represent aura stripes to me. So there's like an aura stripe magic. So now I have to grid it appropriately. And we're going to talk about this. So now it's like, hey, my really rad blueberry tree kind of looks cheap. Because my brain's changed, the quality, even if I did it like 4 or 5 of these Repello squibtum knots for each blueberry, it still looks and feels cheap. So this is definitely going to be the difference between a Ravenclaw and a Gryffindor. So even if, like, let's say I was in house 3, but like with a 7th house Netsock, but like I decided I was going to be in Gryffindor and I only had Gryffindor genetics, even with a 7th house Netsock, like this might look and feel just fine. And that's acceptable, but it's not acceptable for the house of Ravenclaw. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what the 2-inch genetic separation is, because it's huge. Let me say this again. The 2-inch of genetic separation between a real Ravenclaw and anybody else. Let me say this again. There's a huge genetic separation between an ascended bastard and a muggle. And then there's a 2-inch genetic separation between a Ravenclaw and everybody else. Let me say this again. Ravenclaw is a lockout house. So it doesn't matter if you're in a 7th house Netsock space or you're in the house of Haniel, or wait, maybe you're in the house of Kamael and you didn't do your genetics work. and you were going to choose Ravenclaw and you chose Gryffindor and you didn't do the Ravenclaw genetics work. There's a huge difference between you and the house of Kamael that went into Ravenclaw. Let me say this again. Nobody is gonna fake being in Ravenclaw at all. Do you see my fine lines and wrinkles? I'm like 40. I'm a 40-year-old woman and I refuse to wear makeup. So as I go into Ravenclaw and I will be able to heal my skin with just pure magic, because I vibe at such a finely I vibe at such a fine, pure frequency that I can actually shift my cellular structures in my bones and in my skin. Let me say this again. Like a Gryffindor will be able to, because they're going to carry enough light. But the difference between a Gryffindor and a Ravenclaw, it's huge. It's huge. So it's all love. Most of the time we're just Mother Mary energy, so it's nice when we feel good in our body. All right, so here's the 10 millimeter. I'm ribbon knotting, and then here's the 6 millimeter. So I'm doing the Repello squibtums just for like like this is the biggest size you should be doing, unless you're building a giant womb like as an art installation, and then you can use the 1 to 2 inch ribbons, because you're going to do 1 billion of the little ribbons in addition. So let's get that clear. Okay, so the difference between a real Ravenclaw and a like somebody who's going to pretend to be a Ravenclaw is like the difference between, I can hear somebody who has a 1-layer voice versus a 3-layer voice. Let me say this again. I can be able to hear somebody playing Mozart, and I can hear where they miss a beat. And I haven't even studied Mozart. Is this like Raven C Law? So you can see things and you can hear things that no one else can really hear because you're like attuned to the Bina frequencies a lot stronger than a normal human. And your genetics have been refined and purified. All right, so let's go to this. You'll also be able to speak more eloquently, like on command without any rehearsed practice. That's sophisticated. All right, let's go here. Mostly because we carry the language dictionary. Gryffindor doesn't carry the language dictionary. All right, sharing screen. Let's make me small. We don't need to see my face ever. Okay, so we're like I have a basket, like I'm filling my basket of my blueberries. You see how like this is my blueberry tree and it kind of looks like it's cheap and like it's big and stuff. But when I was first making it, I was like so excited because there were so many rules and like I knew it was just going to be magic. And now I'm looking at like how do I like I hear Kelly go, it's the wrong size. And I like that's the smallest size I can find online. Like this is the blueberry ornament. It's an inch. It's an inch big. Like these are 1 inch, 1 inch blueberries, and I can't find anything better. So I'm going online, and we're gonna go. Like, so how do I find the really small baubles, like the ones that are the size of an actual blueberry? Let me say this again: Raven C Law. So if it's a blueberry tree, we're gonna look for the baubles that are the size of actual blueberries. So let's look. Let's look for this together. I can't find any of them. All right, so here's the original. So this is the set that I actually purchased. And it's the one, it says one, like it's a 3 centimeter diameter in between. So that's like 1 inch. And so then you can upgrade. So I bought a bunch of the smallest ones available on Amazon. All right, that's cool. So now I'm going to go try to find it on Etsy. And then, so I found this and it's the same exact size. So I'm looking for miniature baubles that are blue. And like, that's it. That's all I could, this is disgusting if I go any further. All right, this is the closest thing I could find to the actual size. So the baubles in that guy's hand, like a box of them, a box of those baubles is like, so, and they're not blue. So those are dollars. So those are really miniature and they're still not blue. Like, let's see what would happen if I clicked in there. Oh, there's just nothing. There's nothing. So this guy sells miniature things. Oh God, no, all the windows. So here's more on Amazon. Same thing. Same thing. These are all like 25 millimeter, which is 2.5 centimeters. It's the same thing. Again, 2.5 centimeters, same thing. This is 6 centimeters. Oh, gross. That's huge. 6 centimeters. 6 centimeters is like 2.5 inches. That's disgusting. Here is our dumb one. All right, so what happened? We're just gonna go here. So same thing. We got the 2.5 centimeters. We have the 6 centimeter. Here's 2 centimeters. That's the smallest we've got. So we're gonna look at this. And really, this is what it looks like. Here's our blueberry tree. So we're beads. So we're like at 10 millimeters at the biggest. Let me say that again. 1 centimeter bead, or so like you can find 8 millimeter or 10 millimeter beads, like matte lapis lazuli. There's your blueberry tree, just that right there. Oh, blue sapphire beads, blue goldstone, more lapis. And then this came across, love Kelly, and then it's just strands of beads. like Kelly sent this in the astral plane that we were only allowed the beads. Now, here are like the ore stripe pearls, the peacock blue pearls. Here's polished lapis lazuli. I like the rainbow tiger eye. That's for the fancier version. Here, lace agate, blue sodalite, azurite. Let me say this again. Azurite. Let me say this again. Azurite is that's like a smart, we call it the witch's stone. Sodalite. Navy druzy, stormy blue ocean beads. So here is our pretty tiger eye. It's the blue tiger eye. And so what it first came across was this grid. Here's our answer. So you want like these blue baubles and you want them smaller. Here is our angel setup. Beads. That is all you get. So it will take you forever. Let me say this again. You're gonna be doing knotting for the Ravenclaw house just for a decade. So in that decade, you're also gonna make your personal blueberry tree in addition to the cheap blueberry, maybe at the same time. Maybe you're only gonna make the expensive one, which is the beads. And you're going to do the specific Repello squib tem knots with threads. And we're going to talk about the threading because it's gross. But do you see the difference? Yes, you're going to make an entire tree, the blueberry tree, life size. Let me say this again. It's going to be life size, like the size of your body. And it's going to be the blueberry stone with the blueberry Repello squib tem threads, which are going to look a lot more like from something like this. Okay. There. Let's get over to our thread section. And it's actually this. So this comes in many different sizes and 2 different colors. Griffin. Here we go. Yay. So we have number 0 size, number 1 size, number 2 size, number 3 size. So you're going to get really acquainted with these sizes. And this one's a little bit more expensive. Let me say that again. The thread, like these silk threads, they're a little more expensive. So like when I buy this, I can probably make about 3 Repello squib tem knots, and it's like 4 pounds. But that's for your bead tree. So if you did like 1 strand a month, think about it. It's not cheap. This is not a cheap tree. If you could do like a strand of beads with the Repello squib tem attached to each bead, and it's knotted on the bottom, and then you create the Repello squibtum at the top, and you create where you can even hang the ornament on like a light strand. If you did just one strand a month, it would cost you probably about 40 pounds or $40, $50. So this is just the natural silk threads. So that's 4 beading. And it comes in different sizes. And then there's this component. So like you could do the Repello squibtum for each bead just in like one of the embroidery. If you did those handcraft bracelets when you were a kid, I did a lot of them. You would just buy those, and then you would do the thread to do the bead, and then you would attach the little miniature Repello squib, like this thing with the embroidery threads to each bead, and it would be okay. Like that's probably the smallest. Yeah, so that's not the law. The law is this is the biggest you want to go probably for a bead. Like you don't want anything bigger than this for a bead. Okay, so let's go back to this. All right, there are 2 components. There are a lot of components. There are all of these like little hooks. So each one of these hooks, so like this. So there are 2 little hooks that should have an entire Repello squibtum attached. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hooks. There should be an entire Repello squibtum attached to each hook. So that's really good for the embroidery, or we're going to talk about this because we're going to get out the X-Acto blade. Our 3mm ribbon, which is half the size of this one. Okay. In between each bead should be a Repello squibtum. Let me say this again. Every single one of these beads should have a knot between them. Oh my God. And then you have a fancy bead. And then you have a fancy bead. And then, so maybe you have a bigger Repello squibtum knot in between this one. And then you have a bigger one in between another fancy bead. Okay. And that's how to appropriately grid your bracelet. Oh my God, there's a second component to this bracelet. Now I'm going to get the real thread out with the actual needle. It's like that number 0 in the silk thread, or maybe I'm just going to get a spool of actual silk thread that's this big from a sewing store because I'm smart. And I'm going to do a miniature Repello squibtum in between every single little golden dot. Now, I will have 5 of these done. If I wanted to use this bracelet to indicate 5-stripe or magic. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Let me say this again. There's a difference between a witch and a muggle, and that's it. Now, for a Ravenclaw, like a Gryffindor might put 30 of those knots on this, and then they go, yeah, that's good. But a Ravenclaw will do in between every single bead because they will see the law that Odessa sends them, which is disgusting. You're a slob. You're untalented. you can't do anything. Like when Odessa sends you stuff, Odessa's the woman that looks at your fingernails and goes, "You're trashy because you didn't even clean them out this morning. You did like your fingers are too fat. You didn't even do the lotion on your skin this morning. You're a lazy swine." So Odessa is a ballerina instructor. She's a Russian ballet teacher. Do not think that Odessa is not the ballerina instructor for infinity, because she's going to teach you how to do the highest, most refined magic on the planet. And you have to start by looking at all the junk you stole from the planet, because you're an exploiting rapist. Let me say this again. If you own any piece of property on this planet, it's because you're an exploiting rapist person. So you definitely better grit it. You better have talent. Let me say this. You better have talent. Let's talk about this. I have to get the packages from the floss I stole from the planet. Everybody that's ever done any real energy work has always felt like, I'm about to rape the planet just because I'm going to buy floss. And you know it. Okay, so here's like I have to take the floss container and grid this. So the box will be filled with 500 of the miniature Repello squibtums inside this empty square, and it will be sewn all over the box. But then there's also this entire empty container. But here's the difference between a Gryffindor and a Ravenclaw. Is the Ravenclaw will take out the floss, the entire spool, and do a Repello squibtum knot on the floss, so that there's a brain calculation between, I actually know that the Repello squibtum is attached to the floss. So that's the genetics difference between a Gryffindor and a Raven. Like the Ravenclaw sees that they have to do miniature Repello squibtums and put it inside the blue box, but they also have to take out all the floss and grid the floss. Not joking. What else are you gonna do for the rest of your life? The planet's dying. Seriously. Like nobody's going anywhere in their existence. This is the highest magic on the planet, is to actually do sacred gridding of all the consumer stuff that you've stolen and decided to rape everybody with. Period. So, like, again, this sucks and the beads are better. How do you do a life-size tree? Just let's go back to our love, nobody wants to see my face. They want to see this. Like this. This is acceptable, but it's really like the soda light. Look, like blue pearls. That's nice. And then we're also going to learn we're going to become knitting masters also. But this, like just this. God. Here, 10 millimeters. That's your God. Sold out. Like 4 millimeter beads are sold out. There it is, matte lapis lazuli. So it's a really good teaching, like lazy, you lie, lazy. So if you go and you look at all of the stores There are almost no impressive jewelry. There is no impressive jeweler on this planet. The closest thing I've ever seen is the Pandora Natiri store, and you just see the really good beadwork, and you understand that that was the real magic in existence. And you're gonna learn and you're gonna learn how to do it like on clothes also, because you'll become a high-end fashion designer in Ravenclaw. Not hard, because you'll have hierophant design knowledge. If you're not a high-end fashion designer in Ravenclaw, it's because you're a lawyer or a doctor. Or you're Mozart, or you're a philosopher. But like, do you see where the high-end fashion designer is low, and you should be Mozart also? Okay. So we're going to talk about the 2 inches of genetic separation between Gryffindor and Ravenclaw in A&R work. Okay. This is the real world. You see how this is an inch? So the difference between your pink marks and Gryffindor pink marks is 2 inches. At least. Let me say this again. The difference between your pink marks, because everybody has to do pink marks, and Gryffindor's pink marks is 2 inches. Like Hufflepuff's pink marks is the same as Gryffindor's pink marks. Maybe it's one category off. Yeah. Maybe it's like, yeah. This is why we're adding new categories from actual problems on the planet that we're going to solve. Because we're problem solvers. This is the biggest my thing will go. Stop sharing screen. Here we go. There we go. This is the light of God. Oh, it's all backwards. Do you see how this is the lower worlds and this is the higher worlds, and this says basic. Sorry, it's backwards. This says FGM. I know you can't see it. Incest, cannibal, and then demon in hell 8, and then non-O. So this one's kind of like, you're going to have to do that for 7th house. So we're going to do it in Ravenclaw. So you're going to add this to just your regular blue mark section, and you're going to fill this out. So just that's an entire book. And remember, you might have an extra dragon. So we might have like, it might be like 4 books, 5 books, 6 books. That's the 3 inches of genetic separations, just fine. But there's at least 2. Oh, man, there's a genetic gap, period. All right, so that's what's going to be this is your blue marks chart, where you didn't break everything down into the separates. Because a pink marks chart for a Gryffindor is not going to have those items. So here is what it looks like when you start breaking down that. So here's your higher worlds, your lower worlds, basic, higher worlds, lower. This is just NFS through NFT. We're not in OR work yet. We're just in pink marks for Ravenclaw work. And so we have it up at the top. Do you see how I just break it down in letters? So it's knife rape, which is KR, E for evil, demon hell 1, demon hell 2, demon hell 3, demon hell 4, demon hell 5, demon hell 6, 7, demon in hell 7, pedo, FGM, incest, cannibalism, psychic attack, sex crimes, demon in hell 8, and then non-O. So like they're just letters. I know everything's backwards. I'm really sorry. So this chart is for Malkuth. This chart is for Yesod. You will have a chart for Hod, for Netzach, for Tiferet. You will have a chart for Gabra. You will have a chart for Hesed. You will have a chart for Dot. You will have a chart for Bina. You will have a chart for Hokmah. And you will have a chart for Keter. For Ravenclaw, pink marks. And it will be you plus 6 dragons. Kelly says 7 dragons. So that prepares you for your aura levels. Period. Let's say this again. It's so you have a chart. It says Malkuth, me, and then you have 7 other of these Malkuth charts because you have a sponsor dragon. And then you have another sponsor dragon. So who gave us these other pages was Chris Pratt. Let me say this again. That was Archangel Kabael M, who's also in Ravenclaw, where we added the FGM, the incest, and then Kelly has been screaming about the cannibalism. And then Demon in Hell 8 got added. That's Ravenclaw work. Again, it's a genetics separation between a Ravenclaw and everybody else. Nobody else had to do the FG, like knife rape was FGM. It was the same. And incest is just another sex crime. That was the same. So and then cannibalism was in Demon in Hell 5 in Gryffindor. So that's the difference between a Gryffindor and a Ravenclaw. Approved? Okay. Ravenclaw is a lockout house. This will take you 10 years to do. And then you have your house nodding in addition. There is nothing more than that in life. It is all of your A&R work, your non-evil paperwork. It's your nodding, and and then you're going to learn how to knit, and then you're going to have a Ravenclaw bodysuit. It's going to be a checkerboard in Ravenclaw colors, and you're going to do it well. There is nothing left on this planet. There is no higher magic than these on the planet. And then when you want to do something spectacular, it will be your blueberry tree, because you're not a moron and everybody's got to do a blueberry tree. We are not in Ravenclaw. We're seeking to be the same and master our own talents at the Hierophant Law. We're not special. We're just like, how do we master doing our back handspring, back flip, yeah, like that. It's just that. How do you master doing that yoga pose? So the work itself is creating similarities between everybody. How do I master drawing that perfect line and copy it? We're not seeking to be creative geniuses. We're working off of the creative genius. And we're mastering our own discipline to be able to even do it. So that's how like a Hierophant musician or a classical musician trains, or an opera singer, is they all have the classic Hierophant. In cooking, you have like the basic sauces you're required to master and manifest. And you're not like seeking to be a psycho creative genius with an ego this big. Like, you're like, can I even do the fundamentals? So the same thing goes with just the basics of Ravenclaw. So Ravenclaw is anti-psycho. So we don't have egos or fights with each other in Ravenclaw because we're like doing the same exact work, and it's just a lot and it's redundant. The hardest thing is like the left hand work. It's like, where am I going to be creative? Is like, how well do I draw with my left hand? How well do I not with my left hand when my left hand's in charge versus my right hand? And then you can do the neuromuscular grafting. So at this level, you actually begin to vibe more like Hathor. Let me say this again. Where you become not independent from like Hathor has a million duplicates or clones of herself. And it's just like, and it's not an ego thing. It's more just like a generic teaching. Like, we've mastered our genetics. And there's a big difference between all of us in personality and like, woo, like agendas, but our agendas are also the same because we're in the same house. And we're all really sensitive to the amount of work we have to do, which is just, there's like, the devil is in like laziness and like, oh, I don't want to do these things. So Ravenclaw is just more work than you could ever imagine. Abundance. It's the opposite of the devil. Like, what, I don't even know that statement anymore because I'm so high vibe. I can't even think about it. Is that high vibe or is that the lower vibe? Like, I don't have the memory in that statement. Like, my mind is blank. It's probably not a good sign. Let's look at that. Devil and then idle hands. And the devil idle hand saying is, one who is idle will likely come to do evil. Okay, that, I don't think that was the actual saying. What is the saying? The devil makes work for idle hands. When people say that the devil finds work for idle hands, they mean that if they don't have anything to do with their time, they're more likely to get involved in trouble and criminality. So yeah, the point is that my brain doesn't even have time to think about something that's low. Like, I'm only thinking about upgrading my not like my concern in life is upgrading my nodding to actually be able to manifest vibhuti at the same miraculous astral light from thin air so that I can then produce fish and loaves. Let me say that again. My concern is upgrading the vibration by making them so small and tight that I can actually manifest the same vibhuti out of thin air from the bottom of the clipeth with a cleaned out clipeth. Like, yeah, so how thin and small can I do all these Rapello squibtum knots so that I can actually manifest vibhuti that is also like air, like threads of Rapello squibtum out of thin air so that I can begin to manifest the fish and loaves. And it's not about me with psycho-empowered Shakti, where I'm going to be a fucking giant and just troll through the universe like Brooke and Star. Yeah. So it's actually like hyper controlled, and actually it's not grasping at all. It's like work. It's like threading, knitting, and like through time, it just begins to manifest gradually because my brain starts thinking in like neural psychosis 0. Oh, here's another hole I have to fill. It's genius. And then I can start repairing things like cavities in teeth and osteoporosis in bones. Instead of having somebody pay me $2,000 for the day for like a psycho faith healing where I have to close my eyes and do this and look like a fucking troll and then rape people in the astral planes all day long. That's it. Ravenclaw's a lockout house, 2 inches of difference of genetic separation. Kelly loves me more than anybody on this planet. Get the hint. Bye. Color run out. Oh, wait, where's Jamie Bell?